everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a video on how I make custom hoses for cars where you can't source hoses anymore. So what I'm talking about is cars like the Acura Legend, now that they're 30 years old, you can't find the hoses where they've got the right bends anymore. So here's a stock hose that you can just get out of a big spool of hose, specifically 3/8 inch hose. And when you were able to get products from the dealership or even in the aftermarket space, they would come with custom bends so that they would fit your application. So let's say you had a 3/8 inch heater hose on your car, like the Acura Legend, and it's got this weird funky S bend in it, right? Well, since you can't get those any longer, and if you use stock hose and you just bend it like this into a special shape, it closes off that passageway. So I'm going to show you how we get around that through a simple trick. Now you need some of these depending on the size that you're working with. I happen to have the right size for this 3/8 inch hose here right now, but you can get these in various sizes, and what they are is pipe benders. What you do is you stick these in metal pipes and then you can bend the pipe without it crimping. Well, the same thing is true for rubber hoses. So if we stick this into our rubber hose, now that we have this in here, well, it takes a little bit of effort to get it in, but once it's in there, you can then bend your hose and it will no longer pinch off. So now we have to figure out how we're going to bend this hose in a way that keeps a permanent shape. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a moment. So you can get these 3/8 inch or any inch hose specifically for your car um, by just going to the store and getting a cut of heater hose that you'll get off a spool, like I said. So now we have the ability to make any kind of hose and bend that we need for our application. Now, this is how they do it in manufacturing as well, the technique I'm going to show you, but they do it on a much larger scale with probably professional tools. But since this is just rubber, what we need to do is get it to have a memory, and we do that by melting it a little bit via steam and then cooling it real quick. So what we're going to do, and you want to make sure that you have gloves on, and you don't want to use rubber gloves, you want to use something hardy and somewhat insulative, so that when you go to use the steam, because steam is hotter than fire, steam will actually burn you quicker and to a deeper degree than regular flames will. We want to make sure that we protect ourselves. So that's the key thing here. We've got our water that's heating up right here, and in just a moment I'll show you how we can add steam to create a bend. So here we've got our hose. We're just going to do a simple bend just like this. And now we're going to take our heater hose with that bend and apply steam inside of it. Okay, now that we've got that heated up, we're going to put it in the cool bucket and we're going to let it sit there for a while. And then when we come back, our bend should be in perfect condition for what we're looking for. Now, this process does take a little bit because you do have to heat up that rubber, and you have to make sure that you get it nice and tight, and you have to get it to hold. So that's why you see me using a clamp there. Now that we put it in the cool water, hopefully that will allow it to then contract back to its normal memory position. And now we're telling that new memory position to be a bend. So hopefully now that will stay. So we'll pull it out here in just a moment and we'll see how everything turned out. All right, and we have our finished product here. So we put our hose in after we steamed it, both inside and out. So you saw me do that. You want to make sure that you plug off the end here so that the steam doesn't get out. The steam will stay in there. I just used my hand, but you could just put a cap or something at the end of this. Now, the easy thing about this is it doesn't really cost a lot to do this. You can get these lengths of stock hose really cheap compared to some of the custom bend ones, and you don't have to sit there and search through a catalog to figure out which is the right bend for my application. And a lot of times you can't even find the right bends because they're so funky, especially on cars like the Acura Legend. There's some really funky hose bends within some of the hoses. So how do you get that? Here's your alternative. As long as you make sure that you put this in there, you can make sure that the hose doesn't pinch off. That also allows you to make whatever hose for whatever application you're looking for. Now, I will say it's a little bit easier to work with thinner hoses. So if you're using a thicker hose like I am here for demonstration purposes, it does take a little extra time with that heat. And the more heat that you put into it, the more likely it'll stay its first time when you go to release the clamp on it. You want to make sure that you heat it up, cool it off, and then check your form. It may take you 2 or 3 times to get the correct bend that you're looking for, depending on how aggressive and thick that hose is. But this is a feasible alternative by far, and a cheap alternative too. Now, this is something that I do routinely when I'm looking to restore some hoses. It's far easier for me just to stock a bunch of hose length and make my custom bends than it is to go to like a Napa and search through catalogs. This allows me the capability of making any hose in any bend that I want. So hopefully you learned something here. I hope you learned something not only from this, but how to fix your car if you're struggling with sourcing the right bend for your application. So like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.